Welcome to the $5 Yo channel and our video on how to win at craps, the top 7 ways to win at craps with little money. In this video, we'll discuss a strategy that will help you stay in the game longer and potentially win more money when you don't have a big bankroll to work with. Have you ever been at a craps table without a lot of chips to work with? Maybe you've been playing the pass line hoping for the shooter to hit some points and get you back in the game. The shooter rolls for a long time, and after they 7 out, you look down at your tray, you didn't win very much at all. Then you glance around the table and you see trays full of green and red chips from the other players. Well, that had happened to me far too many times. And that's why I decided to start evaluating what I was doing. And I came up with the 20 winning rules of craps. If you haven't yet seen our video on the 20 winning rules of craps, please be sure to check that out after you watch this video. This winning with little money strategy here has evolved from that evaluation process as well. The first thing to do when playing with little money is to set a limit for yourself for each shooter. Now, that may seem obvious to some, but without the discipline of a set rule for yourself, it's easy to get caught up in the moment and outspend. How many times have you found yourself thinking, hey, this guy's going to roll great? So you heavy up the odds behind the line, you buy all the numbers, only to have him 7 out on a second roll. You'd have been better off setting $100 on fire and watching it burn. Setting a limit for yourself on each shooter can give you the discipline to keep from getting caught up in the emotion of the moment and give you a better chance to survive the table until a hot roll comes around. I suggest using your tray to separate your chips from what you have to invest on each shooter. Perhaps you use the top tray for the current shooter. I like to put my initial investment on the left side of the top tray and then rack my winnings on the right side for that particular shooter. This can help you manage your bankroll and know where you stand on each and every shooter. The second top thing to do to win at craps with little money is to skip the pass line. Most people will tell you to play the pass line. And if they don't tell you to do that, then they tell you to go to the dark side and to play the don't pass. Well, I'm going to suggest that if you're playing with little money, that you skip playing either one. Now, if you're the shooter, you have to play one of them. So obviously, this only applies when you aren't the shooter. The reason most people suggest playing the pass line is because the odds behind the line, you're getting the best odds in the casino. The problem is that if you have a small bankroll, you have a larger amount of your available funds tied up on just one number. Let's say, for example, the point is 9 and you're on a $10 table. You've got a $10 pass line bet, and you've likely got that backed up with at least an additional $10, possibly up to $40 to maximize your odds. And let's say you only have a $30 limit for each shooter. Well, then you're standing there holding your junk, waiting for the 9 to come in, while other players are racking chips and filling up their trays. Which brings us to number 3. Make 2 to 3 place bets instead of playing the pass line. So rather than tying up your funds on just one number, make a few place bets with the chips that you've budgeted for each shooter. Again, let's use the example of a $10 table. Maybe you place the 5, 6, and 8. Now you've got an opportunity to collect on 3 numbers instead of waiting around hoping that one pass line number hits. Let's go back to our initial example of a $10 pass line bet with $20 behind the line and the point is a 9. You've got $30 tied up on the pass line and a total of 4 dice combinations as a way to win on that 9. With skipping the pass line and investing $34 across the 5, 6, and 8, you've now got 14 dice combinations that you can win on. This gives you a better chance to win without a lot of money invested. If you don't have deep pockets in the casino, this is how I prefer to invest a limited bankroll. Now on to number 4. Invest in other numbers with winnings from the first few rolls. Now, you've actually got a choice to make here. I'm suggesting expanding to other numbers without raising your initial investment by taking winnings and expanding your bet to other numbers. For example, let's say on the first roll, after you place your bets, the shooter throws a 6. Your $12 6 pays $14. You could place the 9 for 10 and rack the 4. You could even take the $4 and place a couple of hard way bets. The key here is to do this when you're hitting numbers early. Keep in mind that the average shooter only lasts about 8.5 rolls. We are all hoping for that long hot roll, but again, in this situation, we're playing with a small bankroll. So betting on a long roll isn't the best way to extend your bankroll. I mentioned before that you have a choice to make here. The strategy of investing your early wins is great, but since we are talking about playing with little money, you might choose to rack your winnings from the start. That's totally up to you on how you choose to play it. You might even vary it from shooter to shooter. On to number 5. Rack your winnings after about roll 5 or sooner. So again, we're talking about playing with little money and the average shooter lasting about 8.5 rolls. With that in mind, it's best to start racking your winnings sooner rather than later. It's great if we've been able to expand our initial bets from the 5, 6, and 8 to include the 9, 10, and 4. But at the same time, the goal is to end each shooter with more in our tray than our initial investment. So rack them chips as numbers come in. I love to hear the sound of drop me 1 for 15. Now, I really like to hear drop me 2 for 30 better, but again, we're playing on a small bankroll here. Let's start filling up that tray. Which brings us to number 6. And this is one that I struggle with myself. But number 6 is to regress your bets or consider coming down completely. We've already discussed how the average shooter lasts just 8.5 rolls. So it might be a good idea to pull your bets back or even come down completely as a roll advances. Look, we all want to ride the wave of a long roll and cash out huge. But when you are low on funds, it's sometimes best to survive the moment, rack some chips, and move on to the next shooter. The goal here is to come out ahead on as many shooters as possible and extend your bankroll. And the number 7 thing to do to win at craps with little money is to follow the 20 winning rules of craps. I mentioned before that the 20 winning rules of craps came from an evaluation process that I was doing on my own play. I evaluated what had worked, what hadn't worked. And it's the moment when I went from being an average craps player to one that wins much more consistently. Be sure to check out the 20 winning rules of craps video on the $5 Yo channel. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the $5 Yo channel. Now go and make your own luck, my friends.